Hey folks, Alan Manick, the Hot Rod Hippie here. This week's video, we're taking a look at what I think is the best bang for your buck Hammer and Dolly set available on the market right now. So let's check it out. So now in a recent video, I said that I think the place to start when you're getting into metal shaping and auto restoration, the first tools you should pick up is hammers and dollies. They are, in my opinion, the best starting point to set the groundwork for getting into this as a hobby or as a professional. So I went ahead and found what I think is the best bang for your buck hammer and dolly set, the Ron Covell 10-piece hammer and dolly set from the folks at Trick Tools. So far, and personally, I have recommended Martin Tools and Snap-on hammers as far as recommending hammers to you folks. Martin Tools being, up to this point, what I thought was the best value and quality for what you were getting. Now, that said, these ones here, once I got my hands on them at SEMA 2018, I spoke to Ron, I spoke to the folks at Trick Tools, and I handled these hammers a bit. I was really impressed with what I saw, especially for the price. Now, the 5 different designs you get in this set can be really useful for different applications. I've done a whole video explaining the different designs of hammers and what they're used for. You can check that out at the link up here. The handles on the hammers are hickory wood handles, my personal preference for a good hammer, and they all have this red dipped paint design on them to really make them stand out. You get the nice long pick hammer here. This is my personal preference for the go-to hammer. It's got great weight for stretching welds. It's got the 1.9/16 standard face on here with the flat design on the face there. I say flat because it's not truly flat. It's more like a 24-inch radius. Again, check out that Hammers Explained video. I explained that in there. It's a really nice finish on the face of this hammer as well. I've been really impressed with these hammers. Some of the hammers you can get out there, even quality ones like Snap-on or Martin Tools, don't have the greatest surface finish on the face. I generally or always recommend sanding it to a nice high polish finish, and these could still stand to have a little better finish on them, but honestly, it's very good out of the box. I think it's probably the best surface finish I've seen out of the box on a new hammer. The pick on the backside of this is much sharper point than I would normally use. You can check out my Snap-on hammer here. This has a much more rounded and blunted off tip on it. I did that myself. I cut the end of it off and I rounded it over myself to make it slightly more useful for my applications. I will almost certainly do that to this hammer as well. Next up, you get the curved chisel hammer here. This can be great for prying or getting right up against flat edges, inside creases. Really a handy utility hammer for various dirty work kind of applications. You also get the utility pick hammer. This is a shorter pick hammer, get in tighter places. It's got a much shorter end on the back side to hit this pick. I do like that. I'm gonna round that over and probably not have to cut that down like I will with the other one. You also get the peen hammer, which has this nice flat chisel tip to it. I really like that one for getting into corners and such. I use that one fairly often in my day-to-day uses. And last but not least on the hammers, you get a dinging hammer. This is a really handy utility hammer for knocking out bigger, heavier stuff, as it has a slight bit more heft to it on a smaller surface area. You get the round face on the one side and the square face on the other. Something really great to note about these hammers is they have the octagonal style of handle on here. Obviously it's not quite an octagon, it's a oval octagon if you say, but if you compare that to a Snap-on hammer, that's the same idea as a Snap-on handle design. In fact, I personally kind of like this one slightly better as it's a little more elongated. A lot of people say that they like the Snap-on hammers because they like that octagonal shape as they're striking on metal that keeps the hammer from twisting in their hands. The Martin Tools hammers don't have that. They have an oval rounded design to the hammer handle. I personally have no problem with that, but I do know that some people prefer the octagonal shape of the Snap-on hammers, which these Ron Covell hammers do have. Now, as far as dollies are concerned, you get 5 dollies in the set. Obviously, 5 hammers, 5 dollies, 10-piece set. If you asked me to pick 5 dollies that I would recommend to start out with, these are exactly the ones I would tell you. This is a nice heavy toe dolly in here. This is a really handy one. Personally, this is my #1 go-to dolly. I use that the most. You also get A crown dolly. This has all kinds of different shapes on it. Low crown, high crown, really heavy radiuses. This is really, really useful for complex shaped panels. You get the egg dolly, which has a nice low crown backside to it. You also have the heavier crown on the other side, a flat on the end of it, and actually kind of an angled flat. This is probably my second most used dolly if I had to guess. You get yourself a heel dolly, which is also just a really handy dolly for flatter pieces. It has this nice large flat areas on it. That is an extremely useful one. And the heavy radius on the top edge of it, I use that a lot for forming metal around it. And last but most certainly not least, you get what they call the general purpose dolly. Personally, I call it a railroad dolly because it's shaped like a railroad track. This is an exceptionally useful dolly. This is great for maybe hemming things over because you got that kind of pointed end on it. That can really allow you to fold metal over. Maybe you're starting a wire edge or something like that. It can be a really useful dolly, and it's got a great grip on it because of that railroad design. All of these hammers and dollies are made in the USA. One of my only negatives about these, and it's a very minor one, believe me, is that the edge of the hammer faces is a little crisper than I might like. I'm gonna go ahead and sand a lighter radius onto there so that I don't have to worry about digging in with the edge of the hammers. Personally, I just find that to be a really good thing. No brand of hammer and dolly that I have ever seen has as much of a radius on the edge as I personally like, so that is a personal preference thing. Now, the only other negative I can say about this set at this point is that it doesn't have a crown-faced hammer in here. I was a little disappointed to see that. 5 hammers in here, they all have flat or 24-inch radius faces on them, and I really was hoping for a much heavier crown face on one of them. Would have been nice to really complete this set out. I do think that's a key item for a complete hammer and dolly set. However, you will get to do a lot with these hammers without needing that crown face. Personally, for my needs, I will need to pick up a crown face to go ahead and complete this set though. The only thing that bothers me about that is I would really like it if I could pick up a crown face Covell hammer or a door skinning hammer from the Covell line. Unfortunately, they don't have that right now, so I'm gonna have to pick up either a Snap-on or a Martin Tools one and paint it red to complete the set and kind of keep it with this. So you might ask why I would paint a hammer red to match these. There is a specific reason for that. I'm gonna use these as aluminum only hammers and dollies. When you're working with aluminum and steel, it is best not to cross the streams. You shouldn't be using your same hammer on steel that you do on aluminum. You can transfer material from one piece to the other and cause corrosion problems, mainly from steel to aluminum. When you transfer steel dust and particles over to that aluminum, it can cause corrosion, it can embed into the material and ruin your finished product, especially if you're looking for a bare aluminum surface when you're done, which I will be on the Triumph project that I'm going to be doing. Then that won't work for you. I want to have dedicated hammers and dollies to do the best quality job that I can, and these being nice and red, I'll know right away when I'm grabbing a hammer, that's my aluminum hammer. So that's what I'm doing with these hammers and dollies. All right, I told you specifications of these. I've compared them to other products. What do they cost? Best bang for your buck hammer and dolly set, but I haven't said how much they cost. This set right here on sale right now from the folks at tricktools.com, $299.95. At that price, I cannot recommend these enough. I know it's not the cheapest hammer and dolly set out there. There are far cheaper options out there. I just don't really recommend those personally. I stand behind these as being an excellent option and worth your money investment. If you invest in good quality tools like this, they will last not only your lifetime, but the lifetime of whoever takes them up after you. I cannot recommend these enough. I really, really believe in them. I do wish it came with the crown-faced hammer. I do wish it came with a door skinning hammer or the option of adding those on, but you can pick those up from Martin Tools for a pretty reasonable price. Go ahead and fill out the set and be able to do most of what you'll need to do on auto restoration, metal shaping projects, metal art. You could do a lot with this set. If you were to buy all 10 of these from Martin Tools, it would cost you this much. If you were to buy all 10 of these from Snap-on, it would cost you this much. This is a pretty darn good deal for what you're getting. I like them. I really do recommend them. Give them a chance. Check them out. tricktools.com. Link in the description down below. All right, folks, go ahead and drop the video a like if you found it interesting. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this hammer and dolly set? Do you think this is the best bang for your buck? Obviously, I do, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to help out this channel to produce the best quality content that I can for you every week, check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/HotRodHippie, and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with the videos every week. Thanks for coming around, folks.